Hello, welcome to this third tutorial. In this video, I'm going to go in more details about translating in OmegaT. I'll go through some basic features, search and replace, editing the source text, and exporting target translations. So there's already a lot of great general OmegaT tutorials out there. I'll leave a couple in the video notes that I like. I've pretty much covered the Tibetan specific issues in the previous video, although I'll continue with some more issues in the next two videos. But this is just some general features that I like, that I find very useful in OmegaT. So I'll go through them with you. Let's open our same example file that we were working on before. So we have these eight segments again. So generally you can go through segments by double-clicking on them, and the green will always be it'll always show you the source in green, but once you translate a segment, it will show you your translation instead. And then one good place to begin familiarizing yourself with are the Edit and Go To tabs, and they will show you all the hotkeys for some like basic useful actions on the right column there. And also, if you can always go to the user's manual, which will take you to the online user's manual through the help bar. So some useful hotkeys are just to Control P and Control N to kind of go through the previous or the next segment. That's a good way to quickly browse through the text. If you are looking at a segment and you see a fuzzy match that you'd like to work from or edit from, then if you highlight it and then go to Control R, that will enter in. I think you actually just need to select it and then hit Control R and it will paste that in, and then you can edit it as needed. So this one's pretty close. I'll just say omniscient and perceiving all. I don't know if that's actually a good translation here, but it'll work for our example. And then when I hit enter, it's replaced the target with the source since I've entered in a translation there. But if I go back to it, I can always see the source that it was translated from. Okay. Next, there's some basic search features. There is a global search feature in OmegaT. So for instance, if I wanted to search all my TMs and glossary for a term like senge, then I can open the basic search dialog with Control F, and here's where senge is written. Unfortunately, the search bar doesn't display the Tibetan Unicode, but all the results will be displayed properly. And then here I can search in memory. That's the source file. I'm not sure why it's called memory, but that's what it is. The TMs are all your translation memories, and the glossary is the all your glossary files. So if you search for senge, yeah, there we go. First it finds it, oops. Yeah, first it finds it in the document here, and then it shows all the translation memories, and it's appearing in a lot of translation memories. I think there's probably some glossary terms at the end, but let's unselect TMs and search again, and yeah, we can see all our glossary terms here. So that's pretty useful. I'm not sure if this search can do fuzzy matches in the same way the TM matching does. There might be a way with a script, but I'll need to look into that a little more. But it's a very helpful way to kind of look up a term or something like that. So that's the basic search feature. Like any word processor, you can do search and replace. I'll point this out because it's a little tricky to find at first, but if you just do Control K, I think that's edit. Yeah, search and replace is here as Control K. And then say I did a whole document translating as omniscient, but then I realized I don't want it to be omniscient. I want it to be knowing all. And so I will search, and it finds in my translation that I just made, and then I can replace all, and we can confirm yes. So that's just like any word processor, but wanted to point that out because I couldn't find it at first myself, but it works just as well as a word processor. If you ever need to go in and edit the source text, not your translation, but the source, I remember that that's really easy to do because the source file is a subfile within your project folder. And so you can always open that from a word processor and like change things around, like I don't know, if you wanted to change a term or something. And then you can save it if you need to reformat something, etc. And then when you open OmegaT again, you can just go to Project Reload, and it will rescan that Word document, and there it found the spelling change that I made. Not that, even though that's incorrect, but that's just an example. So you can always edit the source, which is very handy. It's not something that's a little more inconvenient in other cat platforms. Down here, there's some things you can play around with. There's no machine translation for Tibetan yet, but someone might develop it at some point. You can use dictionary files. You can add little notes. These are not exported in the final document, but you can add notes to yourself or to other translators. And then that just kind of remains with that segment, so you can add notes to yourself. There may be a script that exports that to the exported Word document. I'm not sure, but I'll look into that. When you've completed your translation, let's see. Let's do one more example before I export it. So you can also add glossary terms. So let's say we're translating this one, and we do, this is the son of King Ajatashatru. So I found it has Ajatashatru here in the glossary. So I'm going to start with the son of King. And then if I just right-click on the term, or double click to highlight it, and then right click, it adds that right in. So that's really nice. And then so I've just translated two segments here. But for this example, it's been creating translation memories and a source and a target translation this whole time. So to export it, all I need to do is go to Project, Create Translated Documents, or Control D. I hit that, and then that creates in my project folder, it creates an exported document for whatever state the translation is in here. I'll shrink this so you can see better. So if a segment's translated, oops, it still doesn't let you see. But you can kind of basically get the idea. We translated those two, oops, this one. Oh, it's because the font is default set to Microsoft Himalaya here. But if I had set up my original document with Jomalari instead, it would get those diacritics. There we go. And so if wherever it's untranslated, it just leaves the source, but where I have translated, it puts in the English translation. And so I can do that at any time, even in the middle of a project. And then when you create it, when you export your target, it also creates your project TMs here. These level TMs are for if you want to do more complex TMX files, but for now, let's just look at the simple example. So far, as you recall, we only translated 2 TMs, and you can see it made a TMX file with 2 segments in it. So that's how you export a TMX file, and then you can share it with your friends, use it in different cat platforms, and so forth. And then in your future projects, you would just copy that and paste it into the TM file folder for the next project. I think if you go to the main OmegaT folder, there's a master TMX file that's kind of like the backup file. This one's automatically updated. So if you make a mistake, you can actually go back and check that. Oh yeah, there's backup files here. So those are some basic details. I haven't gone through a lot of detail. I think it's mostly a self-explanatory platform, but I recommend if you want to learn more, look at some of the other recommended tutorial videos that are just general tutorial videos, not specific to Tibetan. And it's easy to kind of figure things out by just poking around, but you can also go to the help and the user's manual. So that's it for this tutorial. In the next